Hi everyone, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface, which of course is a wrestling terminology. The question I get asked the most is, what does heel versus babyface mean? Well, heel is a bad guy. Babyface is a good guy. This is wrestling terminology. Why? Because I deal with the good things, I deal with the bad things. I'm the good guy, I'm the bad guy when it comes to discussing it with you. So I thought it's a perfect name for my channel because I also had an interest in wrestling. I've been a wrestling fan probably for about 20 odd years now. Around about 99, 2000 is when I started to get into it. Watching WWE back then. WCW had just folded into it. I kind of started watching just as the invasion angle began. Around about that time, a little bit before, probably a year before or so, but around about that time. And as time went on, I kind of lost interest with WWE as their huge stars left. At one point, they just had this unbelievable roster of talent. Kurt Angle, The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker. They were just like a few of your main talent. Mick Foley, Kane. You know, the depth of the roster was absolutely insane. And a lot of these people moved on to other things. Stone Cold left, went into some films for a bit. The Rock left, built his brand, moved into films for a bit. Others came and went. And it was very difficult, or seemingly very difficult, for WWE to build a massive name again. Or was it Vince McMahon, as we'll get to, was it Vince McMahon wanting to resist that? Concerned that if you build up your talent too big, then they will become bigger than the company. They'll become bigger than the brand. They'll become bigger than his show and move on to other things. So we had pretty much John Cena being the top talent, and not really, I know we had like Randy Orton and Edge, but comparative to what the talent used to be like, and I'm not meaning any disrespect to these guys, it certainly didn't have the depth. And then during the last decade, holy cow, it just didn't seem like WWE could build a top babyface for love and the money. Particularly in the last 5 years or so, kept pushing Roman Reigns. People just weren't gravitating towards him. They were asking him to become a heel. 5-6 years later, what does Vince actually do? Turns him into a bloody heel. Anyway, the wrestling industry is a weird place, and I've moved on to different brands. My favorite brand at the moment is New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think it's incredible. I like the way that they deal with the storylines. The stories are told essentially in the ring, as opposed to this naff, what I call naff soap opera type of thing. I hate this naff soap opera type of thing. And I like the way that the New Japan Pro Wrestling is treated like a faux sport. They'll go back and they'll do interviews, and then the gubbins will just happen in the ring. There's no little skits or anything like that for the most part. AEW, kind of like, there's got put off recently. There's a few snowflakes in the company now, and that's kind of tarnished it a wee bit for me. But I just don't touch WWE anymore. I just don't find it engaging. I don't find it fun. I don't find it interesting to watch at all. And I do find the wrestling style incredibly boring. It's like you've watched one WWE match, you've seen them all. They just have such a same pattern to them. With New Japan, it feels like every match, every wrestler is complete and utterly different. And that, to me, makes it more dynamic, much more interesting to watch. And so you can get some crazy clashes when it comes to the talent. This is just my opinion. I'm not saying this is fact. I'm not saying this is the way you should think. This is just my opinion. Okay. But yeah, top of the Christmas tree of crazy is definitely Vince McMahon. He's about, 76 years old, still running WWE. Most people, well, a lot of people, I should really stress, have claimed that he's just simply out of touch nowadays. Just simply out of touch with the product. AEW's come along. It's feeling a lot more fresh. It's feeling a lot more exciting in terms of the way that they do things, the way that they produce things, more importantly. The roster, the talent, the whole job lot. And WWE, you cannot deny, for years and years now, has just been diminishing, regardless of great contracts that he signs with television channels and stations. The recent one, of course, with Fox. Ouch. So, with that said, we're in a very difficult time at the moment with COVID and everything that's kind of going on right now. Things are a little bit cray-cray. And so wrestlers who aren't able to do everything that they used to, house shows are all gone and that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's the weekly show, but there's no audience. There's no one to really engage with. Things are very odd in terms of wrestling. And so they're finding other things to preoccupy their time with. Used to being constantly on the road, they're spending a lot more time not. Finding that they've got a lot more free time. And so they've decided, a lot of these wrestlers have decided to innovate, and they've gone out and they've started to create their own contents and their own promotional materials. However, Vince McMahon wants to put an end to this, apparently. And he has issued a statement to his talent saying that they can no longer engage with outside third parties. This article comes from WrestlingInc.com, and they say that this will presumably include platforms like Cameo and Twitch. There's a platform which isn't mentioned, of course, which is right here, YouTube, which I'll cover in a moment. Now, Cameo, if you're not aware what this is Cameo. You put yourself on it as a celebrity. You set yourself a price, here, Kofi Kingston, £123.67, and they will create a message for you for that money. Look at that, Lexi Kaufman, £331.17. She better be saying some stuff. You know what I mean. So it can get pretty pricey, but this is a way for them to supplement their income. This is a way for them to to engage with their audience. However, it's the person that will determine what's being said. The celebrity can choose to accept or decline the cameo. But let's just say some former wrestlers, not necessarily current wrestlers, but former wrestlers have done some very interesting messages. DSP to about some people. But we also have Twitch, and many of you will be aware exactly what Twitch is, streaming platform. However, here, I'm just going to take this as an example. Here, we've got Baron Corbin, who is from WWE. We've then got Sean Spears, who's from AEW. And then, I want to say Breezango, but it's honestly not Breezango anymore. I don't know if he got released from WWE or he's still part, because obviously they did a bit of releasing recently. But these guys have called themselves the Sweets Live or whatever. Breeze, Corbs, and Dilly, and they've got their Twitch and their YouTube and their Discord and their Instagram and their Patreon. But you got competing brands here. Vince hates that. Vince hates that. Then you've got people like AJ Styles. Now, AJ Styles, massive star, but he recently was on a live stream and kind of discussed an issue that went on between himself and Paul Heyman as regards to the release of Gallows and Anderson. Big friends of his, of course, in New Japan Pro Wrestling together, Bullet Club, and all that sort of stuff. But they were recently part of the WWE releases after holding on for a while, I think, and renegotiating a contract. So he said some choice words, not faux, but legit, which, of course, Vince would not necessarily like. The company as well is looking to evolve. It's, according to Vince anyway. God knows what that means. But, you know, they have their own streaming platform themselves in terms of the WWE network. So is Vince potentially looking at incorporating some live streaming from the wrestlers themselves into that as part of their contract. But what is probably more important is the names. Because if you are a wrestler, and let's just say your true name is Bob Smith, but you go by Big Bobby Boulder Bollocks or something like that, and then you're using that to sell off site. So you're using that name to sell your Twitch channel or your cameos, and WWE aren't seeing anything of that, then that's using property that WWE own in terms of the name. They own the brand of it to sell better. And again, Vince would not like that sort of business. But what was also interesting is Vince claims that he owns their real names as well. WWE held a call with talent last Sunday regarding the reinvention of the product. Whatever. During the call, it was said that WWE owns the real names of talent, not just their character names. Now, I don't see how on earth that could be possible. Even if it's in the contract. Just let me use an example here. Cody Rhodes is actually called Cody Rhodes. Yes, their surname was it Reynolds? But I think Cody actually did change his name to Cody something Alexander or something. Cody Alexander, whatever. Reynolds Rhodes. So he is legally Cody Rhodes. But when he left WWE back in 2016, he went by Cody Rhodes because that's his name. But then I think there's a little bit of pressure put on him by WWE. And according to Cody, he just didn't want any beef. He just didn't want the hassle. So he dropped the Rhodes and just used Cody from there on in, even though Cody Rhodes was his legal name. Just didn't want the hassle of it, according to Cody. But owning people's real names, I don't think so. I don't know. That sounds very, very bizarre indeed. McMahon followed up by sending a letter on Thursday. McMahon wrote that it was imperative that they promote and protect the brand in every conceivable way, and the talent have 30 days to stop engaging with third parties. This is from the letter directly. Some of you are engaged with outside third parties using your name and likeness in ways that are detrimental, i.e. negative, to our company. McMahon wrote, "It is imperative that these activities be terminated within the next 30 days by Friday, October 2nd. Continued violations will result in fines, suspension, or termination at WWE's discretion." Okay. So let me go back to the platform that I didn't mention, YouTube. Wrestling Observer Live are saying that they're not sure if YouTube is also caught up in this third-party activity. There are a number, again, of wrestlers that have large, successful YouTube channels. In fact, what was he called? Is it Matt Cardona is his real name? Ice D, Long Island Ice D or whatever. He couldn't get himself, kind of over on the show because Vince just wasn't giving any push. Create a YouTube channel, got himself over on the YouTube channel, which allowed him to have some sort of push on the actual main event itself. We've got Xavier Woods, who has, when I say main event, I mean the main roster. Xavier Woods has a very successful gaming YouTube channel, Up, Up, Down, Down, where he has other wrestlers on. They come, they play games, they have a lot of fun together. That's going to generate decent income for them. And to have that sort of income taken away from them, I'm sure is not going to be particularly well received if YouTube is also part of the equation as well. Never mind the money that they'll lose from Cameo, the money that they'll lose from Twitch. These are successful, popular people after all. But Vince, well, when Vince puts his foot down, Vince puts his foot down. It's going to be very interesting to see how the talent respond. even though wrestling is in a difficult position with current day situation right now, it's no longer, WWE particularly, is no longer the only game in town. Wrestlers can make themselves a decent living through the independent circuit. They can make themselves a decent living now with rival companies like AEW coming along and becoming very successful very quickly. You've had the reinvention of Impact. You've got New Japan Pro Wrestling, who were looking to start making roads into the US before all of this business happened as well. So there's a lot more choices than they would have had back in the day, so to speak. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one turns out. And on October 2nd, whether or not wrestlers have to remove themselves from these platforms, and whether or not YouTube is also one of these platforms that Vince wants their talent to get off. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and YouTube for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.